Everybody. We're going to give it a minute or two for everybody to stream in, but welcome to the webinar. Thanks for joining us. And then you will see a poll pop up when you're coming in. It's not mandatory, but we would ask that you guys take a minute to fill it out. It just lets us and the presenters know kind of who's in the webinar, kind of background on your business, just so we can tailor the information to what you're working with. So just take a minute for the poll, and then when you fill it out, it will go away. So that's also another incentive; it'll go down. And I think we can go ahead and get started. I think we have a critical mass. I know a lot of other folks will sign in the next minute or two. But I just wanted to welcome you to this really great webinar. Let's Get Social. It's a social media workshop. This is going to be kind of a fireside chat, or we would say like a couch chat. But it's really great and very timely for a lot of businesses. And so, as I mentioned, I'm the regional director of the Florida Small Business Development Center at FIU. We're under the College of Business. And this is a really great reason for me to work with my great colleagues at Food FIU, Anna and Vicky. And we, just like you guys, we know how important social media was for local small businesses during COVID in terms of getting the word out, connecting with customers. We know how even more important it is post-COVID as everybody's trying to figure out their post-COVID plans. So we wanted to get a really great webinar together, focusing on food and beverage businesses. I know a lot of the businesses, we have some yoga studios, some HVAC folks, we have some landscaping companies. So we won't kick you guys out. We'll let you guys stick around. But we wanted to focus on having like a really good discussion with some great experts on that. So just for my end, thank you for attending. We will put some information in the chat for you. Don't be shy. Give these guys some really tough questions in the Q&A, and then we'll answer those at the end. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anna from Food FIU, and just thanks to them for helping us to organize this. They always have really great webinars when we work with them. So
yes, we promised in 2020 during the heart of the pandemic that we'd do more collaborating. We had to collaborate a lot behind the scenes. SBDC was a huge support in helping our small businesses apply for the bridge loan, apply for a lot of the emergency funding that was necessary for a lot of micro businesses. And so we are really grateful for the work that SBDC does in the community. Startup FIU Food, for those of you that do not know us, we are here and we specifically focus on local food entrepreneurs. Traditionally we get a large group of micro businesses that are in the startup space, businesses that are working from a shared commercial kitchen space. And, our goal is to provide them with the support that the university has from its commercial kitchen to its industry experts. And so that was a majority of who we were before COVID. After COVID, completely different environment. And one of the activities that we created, which was fully online, was a summit. And that's where we met Dana. Dana, who is a part of the Fireside Chat. She participated in our online summit, which was an emergency, okay? Emergency support, because a lot of the people that we worked with, they are at farmers markets, they sold to local grocery stores. They did not have anything close to social media, all right? And the process of introducing the conversation during the pandemic was very challenging. And so for 2021, collectively, myself, Brian, and all of us at FIU, we wanted to be more proactive with introducing the community to industry experts such as Gio and Dana. And so, prior to us joining this session, it was just really great to watch their chemistry. You can see that from marketing to PR, how well these two topics work together. And so they have a huge resume of working with large local chains, from the Miami Heat to a few F&B chains that are here locally. And hopefully I'm going to take out my notebook and my pencil and my pad, and I'm going to listen in on this conversation and take notes. FYI, they both have a strong social media following. So if you can check them out on Instagram, I would strongly suggest that you check out Miami Food Porn and Chat Chew TV. If I said that wrong, Gio, I'm so sorry. Did I say that wrong? Okay, Cat Chow. I was trying to remember. Epic fail. But you know, my skin makes it look like I'm younger, but I'm not. I'm older. I too need help with social media. Okay. And so without further ado, I'm going to get out of the way. I really look forward to this conversation and to the Q&A session that you guys have in the end. We look forward to providing more of the support services to you and connecting more with our local leaders such as Gio and Dana. And so thank you both so much. I'm going to fade to the background and become a student.
Thank you, Hannah and Brian. Yes, we're here. We're actually, in our, I would say our home. It's not like we're married, but we're not married. We're in my home. We're best friends. We work a lot together. We want this to be engaging, interactive, casual, fun. Yeah, it's a fireside. The chimney's over there, but you get the point. I see we got Venezuela in the house. Guys, ask questions anytime. Honestly, like you want to just jump in at any point. We have some slides to show, some tips, tricks, a lot of data. We're gonna get into it.
Yeah, this is not formal. We're gonna chit chat. We want you guys to engage with us too. And yeah, let's just take it away.
Cool. So it's funny because before we start, right? Like we wear different hats,
yeah.
Right? We wear the blogger hat, the PR hat, the marketing hat. Who are we, right? Let's see. I guess I lost. I don't know why I lost them.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. I think the survey.
We might not have control.
We lost
of the
control.
presentation.
Yeah, I don't know. It was working fine, and then it's not. Let's see. Remote control. So Dana, who are you?
The good news is we can introduce each other without the slide for now. So I'm going to start by just giving a quick intro to Gio. You know, as we mentioned, we're good friends. We met through this industry that we're both in. I know very few people who wear as many hats as Gio. He works full-time in the advertising and marketing space. He also is a content creator, blogger, influencer, whatever words you want to use to describe it. Focuses a lot in the food and beverage space. He is, you know, a big champion of mixology and spirits. He is a brand ambassador for Havana Club rum. So you'll always see him buying everyone shots of anything Bacardi, but especially Havana Club at the bar. So he's a good person to keep around. But he really has a strong mind for everything, marketing, ads, social, both personally, professionally, in his day job, in his blog. So soak up everything he has to say. And follow him at Chat Chow TV.
That's me. I think we're back on it. Everyone's watching. Yes. Let's see. I got thumbs up, right? Everybody's back. Kind of good. Cool. I've known Dana for like a hot minute, for a couple of years now. And I met you traditionally in the PR world. You know, again, we wear many hats, and I was an Instagram influencer personality, and you'd invite me to some of your events when you worked in the PR world, and obviously we became friends, and here we are a couple of years later, and now you do your own thing. You actually like quit the corporate boss job, and you're your own boss, baby.
I am. Feels good. Feels good. So yeah, I run Miami Food Porn. So I have my own Instagram platform, but I also work on the brand side with a lot of food and beverage clients, helping them with their social media presence, helping them understand the influencer world. So I get to straddle these worlds of brand, blogger, which gives us a really unique perspective on the whole thing. So hopefully you'll learn a thing or two.
Absolutely. Social media amidst a pandemic. What a time to be alive.
What a time.
What a time. Yeah, it's been rough. I feel like we're lucky we're in this state, and especially the city. We've actually, compared to others, we've bounced back. I know personally from a lot of friends in the industry, it's rebound. A lot of people are making more money than 2 years ago, month to month. I think the issue is still staffing, right? We see that a lot.
Definitely. But no, there's been highs and lows. We've seen it firsthand, like Gio said, with industry people, food and beverage, restaurant owners. It's been very difficult, but I think we're all starting to see the light. And we're just going to take a little bit of a look at changes that we saw during the pandemic, things that we're starting to see as a result, and really put a positive spin on it too, because we saw a lot of success stories as a result. So we're going to keep it light and positive and optimistic, especially for those who might think that social media is really scary and overwhelming. We'll break it down for you, so don't panic.
We got to start with the basics, right? So like, let's just like get out of the way, the 101. Let's say a lot of businesses are there, a lot of micro businesses are tuning in. And so let's do like a little refresher from the get-go. Let's rewind a little bit and let's talk about like 101, right? Do we need social media in today's day and age?
100%. I think any business owner who does not want to accept the reality that social media is a critical part of your business is doing themselves a huge disservice. I know it might seem like a lot. Nobody has time to post day in and day out. Well, you make time and it leads to more business. So let's start in the very beginning. I'm sure there's different varying levels of expertise and understanding in social media, but step one is really understanding the platforms. I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the social media landscape was completely different than what we're dealing with right now. There's Instagram, which is our fan favorite. I think probably a lot of yours as well, but there are a ton of platforms. So Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, these are all platforms that may or may not work out for your business, but they're all important to be aware of. They're changing every day.
Right. And so I think depending also the type of business that you're in, obviously, there's different ones, right, for different types of business. Like everybody knows about Pinterest now. And like if you're into like fashion, it's definitely one of those that people like you're tuning into that. If you're in the world of news and PR and reporting and you have Twitter, right, which is like fast news, late breaking news, 140 characters, and it's quick and it's nimble and again very fast, right? Like Dana said, we're big on Instagram. It's actually our bias because it's to us, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier. It's the best of both worlds, right?
It's the most dynamic. The platform offers so much video content, long form, short form, imagery, like short, things that can be there for 24 hours and things that can be there forever. It really gives you the opportunity to be creative and play around. Yeah,
and it keeps growing, right? It's one of those platforms that it keeps growing and kind of like, and this happens all the time in our world of technology, which, seminars like this, even we do ourselves, because Clubhouse did not exist a year and a half ago, right? And we can talk about that later, but, this is always changing. The landscape is always changing. Even within a platform like Instagram, the algorithm is always changing, As of last week, for example, their main creator on Instagram posted on his own feed that Instagram is now beyond photos. Stop thinking of Instagram as a photo sharing app. It is now a video sharing app. What that tells people like us is like their algorithm is going to start changing, which you can tell it already has. And like video is king, not photos is king.
Right, and it's also a sales tool. So before we didn't even have Instagram stories. Now we have stories. If you have a certain number of followers, you can do swipe up links, which is a direct call to action. So those who really embrace all the platform features have the world at their fingertips, and those who are scared of the change or only want to stick to static photos or don't want to play around are going to lose. So I think it's really looking at it like an experiment, trial and error. If a photo tanks or a video tanks, who cares? Play around with Instagram Reels, try an IGTV. It's all part of the game, and see what works for you.
Right, and I think we should let's jump into a little bit of those, right?
Sure.
It seems like maybe some of this terminology is new for you guys, or you don't know what these things mean. So you post on your feed, which is there forever. That's a little grid or a bigger little view, but that's like that permanent post on your feed. You can delete it always later. You can archive it as well, which kind of like hides it and bring it back later on. So I do that a lot for like events. I don't want my feed to be a bunch of flyers. So I'll post something on my feed and I can archive it later. So it kind of people don't see it, but I still see it in my back end, right? Then we have
Instagram stories. I think are an important one. I know I touched upon it, but I'm having brands, approach us, I'm sure you are too, and say, we just want advertising on our stories. So stories are an increasingly effective tool, whereas maybe a year ago, people would say, I don't want that, it disappears. But people are sitting on their phones more than ever before and watching these stories, whereas they might not be going through their entire feed. So stories have swipe ups, they have music now, they have little fun animation tags. Like there's a lot of ways that it can be used as a sales tool.
Right. And to add to that, like kind of what Dana said, so you see a lot of hashtags, right? Some people, again, we're talking about 101. Hashtags is a way to find other discoverable content by clicking on it. So if I'm a restaurant in South Beach and I want people in South Beach to check it out, I might hashtag a lot the word South Beach in my post and in my story. But one of the things that Dana said very important about stories is you actually swipe up, which is one of the only call to action, unless you pay, is for sponsoring content on the Instagram. But if I post this on Instagram, there's no call to action in my description. You know, there isn't a bio, but there's no link in each individual post. You can't do that, but you can on your story by swiping.
Right. So Reels are another good one. And this kind of goes back to this ever-changing landscape that we're in. Reels, dare to say, were pretty much a knockoff of TikTok.
Right.
TikTok has never seen more success than during the pandemic, and Instagram caught on to that. They said, we need a version of Reels. So Reels are short videos, 30 seconds, and I think they have a minute now.
Yep.
And you can add, popular music to it. And again, Gio's point about Instagram constantly changing the algorithm, they're prioritizing Reels because they want you to use the feature. They want you to adapt with the platform. So if you're just living in the dark ages of static posts all day, you're gonna lose.
Right, and Reels is really robust within itself. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why use a story instead of Reel, right? It's a question we get a lot. Stories just appear in 24 hours, although there is a cool thing called a highlight. So you ever see on people's Instagram account, there is those little buttons on top. Those are highlights, so you can save them forever. So you can store a story as a highlight and saves it forever. A Reel is really forever. A Reel is actually a different little tab within Instagram, and there's music, which is a big part of Reels, where there is a video editing tool within Instagram just for Reels. So you could start recording, stop recording, start recording, stop recording, start recording, stop recording, add captions, add this, add sound bites, add a full length song if you want, and then I save it. So it's almost like a really mini video editor.
And if you're completely overwhelmed by everything you just said, Instagram makes it easy for you to become this video producer. It's very dummy proof. I think with anything, of course, there's trial and error, but you'll learn once you start to play around. You can make a video that looks pretty legit and professional by putting it together with a very popular song. So don't be scared by all these things. Oh, I don't know how to use captions. I don't know how to add the song. There's tutorials online, there's step-by-step. And again, just try it.
Right, and then you have IG video, which is long form. So now we're past that 30 or 1 minute. We want a long form video. Again, I have a separate tab, a different place within Instagram. And there's I just upload a video. So that's where we might do like a really nice edited long form piece, or we're describing a dish or something, and we post that as an IGTV.
So those are the big ones. There's a million more. We encourage you, we can't say it enough, to get on the platforms, start using them, and just start seeing what you like, what feels good, what you don't like. But all the platforms serve a purpose. We're not just pimping out Instagram, although we are partial to it. So here's a snapshot of some of the other platforms.
Yeah, this is kind of, again, listen, all these platforms, we kind of wanted to show you a quick landscape at a glance of all these networks. And again, this stuff changes all the time. For example, Clubhouse isn't even on there. We just talked about it, which is pretty new. If you haven't heard of Clubhouse, it's people just talking. It's basically the idea of like a podcast with kind of like a social network built in. So it's just audio only. There's absolutely no visuals. And I can join other people's conversations. So you can make them private conversations. I can start my own dialogue. So for example, what we're doing right now could have been an audio only thing on Clubhouse, right?
Yeah. So even when we were looking for this image, we were thinking, there must be something that has Clubhouse, that has all these new platforms. Case in point, things are changing so fast that it's hard to keep up. So the more you can have your finger on the pulse and, just check in on a weekly basis to make sure you're up to speed, the better off your business is going to be, because you can start tapping into all these platforms as it makes sense.
Yeah, even like Facebook is copying Clubhouse now, and it's called Substack. And Clubhouse has 10 million followers now, right? Again, it's a brand new platform. And Facebook is worth trillions of dollars, but they can't buy them out because of antitrust laws. So instead, they're like, we can't buy you out, we're gonna build our own. Yeah. And that's the world.
The theme here.
Yeah. So let's talk about where to start, right? So from the get-go, when we talk about owning the platform, what are we referring to?
So owning the platform means you're building a brand. So whether you have a brand, you're starting the brand at the same time you're starting social media, you want that brand to be as visible and searchable as possible. So we both just told you we love Instagram the most, but that doesn't mean we only live on Instagram. So the image here, you see, if you Google Chat Chow, you can find his website, you can find his Instagram, you can find Twitter, because he understands the importance of having his digital real estate, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And you need to do the same. Even if you have no intention of ever tweeting, get the platform, own the name, because someone else might swoop in and you're going to look back and wish you had it.
Right. So it looks like back in the 90s, everybody had to buy a domain name, and it became a hot commodity. And that's the world we live in now with social media, where brands will buy out domain names. And because again, you're not buying them, but you start the account, and it's your account, now you own it. So it's again back to that owning that real estate space where you're absolutely everywhere. So when somebody searches for you, no matter what their platform of choice, you're found. And don't be it can be drowning if you think they have to be posting on these platforms. Believe it or not, a lot of them let you sync with one another, which might not be the best way to engage or the right use of it, but at least you can be active on all of them with like the click of one button. Like whether you're on TikTok, say publish this, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you can actually do that. So that's kind of like one of those things where, like,
Yeah, that's a good point.
you just own everything and publish everywhere.
Right. It doesn't have to mean additional work. It's just additional exposure for the same, amount of time spent.
Right. So, and we talk about building a brand's aesthetic and voice, right? So like for me, from a like a marketing advertising guy, like nowadays when we do logos, back in the day it was like design your logo, and then clients would pay us to like do the logo and then show it in a letterhead and then a business card. Now you don't see that anymore, right? Barely do we use business cards anymore, especially during COVID, like paper and physical got weird. But a necessity, a mandatory is, what does your logo look on these social platforms? What does it look as a circle button? What is it? Because that circle button is on Facebook, on Twitter, on the Instagram, it's everywhere. So
It needs to be consistent and have it everywhere.
Right. And what about like you from a PR standpoint, right? We talk about like the voice of a brand. What does that mean for people?
Yeah, so it's amazing if you have a very recognizable look and feel. If your imagery is all blue and white, looks pretty great. But if you have no voice, no identity, and you don't stand for something as a brand, then your look and feel doesn't even matter. You need to have both. So what does that mean? As a brand, Chat Chow is, a big supporter of local. He's casual. He's, he says what's on his mind. He writes like how he speaks. For me, I'm a big fan of cheesy puns, food porn. I love, play on words. So I would say that we each have our own brand voice. The same goes with the business. Are you irreverent? Are you serious? Do you want to be a resource for people where you're constantly pushing out knowledge and people come to you to learn? All of those are great. Just figure out what it is and really lean into it.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just joking earlier about like a little Colombian fast casual arepas bar, and like the language is all like reggaeton, like Latin, Latino, Latinx culture. It's just fun, right? So you gotta like find like your voice, like Dana was saying, and that's a lot of times if you don't know what that means, just think about brands that you love as a consumer. Think of like what brands do you love, what brands speak to me, why do I like these brands, what is it that makes me connect to them? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like a little insight there how you should be thinking for yourself and your business, right?
Definitely. So once you kind of have that look and feel, your voice, you have your platforms all set up, you're going to have to start posting. And at first you're going to be insecure about it. You might not know what to say or what post to put out, or no one's going to like it. You're DMing all your friends, please like this, please comment on this. We've all been there, we understand, but there are ways that you can slowly over time increase engagement. And I intentionally say slowly and over time, because people want immediate gratification. And to be honest, it just doesn't exist.
Right.
You have to build and build upon your business and your platform and be patient. So that means posting every day. That means engaging with other people. If you want them to show love for you, you need to show love for them. That means following people that you're interested in or in your same industry. It's not throwing up a post, disappearing from the platform and coming back in 3 days. You have to spend time on it. So find out when to carve out that time, because we're all busy, but carving out the time is important.
Yeah, I mean, schedule an hour a day in the morning or whatever, and like the little heart people's comments, reply to people.
Yeah.
Again, engagement. And here's where a lot of times businesses are like, I don't have the time. I'd rather hire someone, or I have 4 or 5 businesses, so let me hire someone who's gonna like run all this for it. Because now once you have 4 or 5 businesses, that's where now that little bit of time, it takes up a lot of time, right?
Which is great. I mean, I think if you recognize that it's just not your thing, but you still understand the importance of it, there are so many young, smart people who are savvy in the social space who can really help propel your business to the next level if you don't think that you're the right person for it. So you don't have to wear every hat, but someone has to wear that hat for you.
Young, savvy, affordable.
Yes. Hopefully.
Now we gotta talk about cancel culture because that comes up a lot. Like some people are scared to start their business, and I've had clients too. I'm like, man, when I post something, it's just people commenting and complaining about delivery times or how to route a service person, and that happens, right?
Yeah.
How do we deal with that? I think I know my answer, but I'm curious. What's your
So before we get into that, I just want to quickly kind of explain cancel culture. It is this understanding that everyone, whether it's bloggers, influencers, brands, politicians, are under the microscope more than ever.
Yeah.
We just lived in basically a digital world for the past year and a half. So people are paying more attention than they've been, and they're looking for things. It sounds negative, but it's true. If you slip up, if you say something that is just a little off color or politically incorrect, people will come for you. And we don't say that to scare you. We say it just so that your eyes are wide open and you can triple check everything that you're putting out there. I mean, that's one way I do it. I edit myself. We have friends. I mean, we do this for each other. Hey, does this sound okay? Will you read this over? What do you think of this? If you're ever in doubt, either don't put it out there or ask people that you trust and get other opinions, because the last thing you want to do is say something, even in a joking fashion. Maybe you're joking, but online it doesn't come across and it's insensitive or whatever that may be. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I think be honest with yourself too. If you really believe in something, you look at organizations like the Miami Heat, right? They'll post about, we support the Black movement and Black Lives Matter. Not every brand does that. Not every company does that. They don't want to have that opinion.
Yeah.
It's scared of doing that cancel culture of people that might not be into that. Whether it's politics or whatever. But you know what? As a brand, now they stand for something, and I want to believe they get more admiration and more respect.
I agree, and it's such a fine line too. So another example, of late is Surfside relief efforts. I know that so many people in the community, business owners, individuals, jumped in to help, but I think it's still a fine line where how do you say that your business is supporting it without looking like you're capitalizing on something or patting yourself on the back? It's that nuanced, and it's just things that having a second set of eyes and a gut check is very important.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do we delete comments that are negative?
I would not delete the comments that are negative unless they're offensive to the general population. If they're negative about your business or specific requests, I would say, please send me your email. I'd love to make this right. Because I think it speaks more, higher volumes to show that you're addressing the negativity and kind of rising to the occasion than to just shy away from it. I think people really respect that.
100%. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to try to log in real quick. I'm curious here.
We have a lot more to go, but we want to make sure we're addressing.
Little break. Let's see here. But yeah, those all really good stuff. Before we get into some, let's see here. Does anybody have any questions? No, I guess not. I want to jump into some photography stuff.
I'm sorry, Gio. Sorry, there is one right now. It's any recommendation for person name or name of the business brand?
That does what?
That's the question. They're just asking, I guess, any recommendation for person or name of the business brand.
Oh, what are social media influencers? How do you find? Oh no. Let me see. Yeah, I think there's it's interesting because that's a really good question, because the world has changed where it used to be a byproduct of either marketing companies, then it became like a byproduct of like PR companies. Now there's companies out there that just dedicate themselves on social. There's a lot. There's honestly there's companies that do all of it, right? Like in your world too, PR companies are doing this for a living.
That are helping you to create your brand name and image.
Well, yeah,
Is that the question?
I guess it's the question. You talk about like branding, that's still like a marketing, advertising, traditional company that does that for you in terms of like, the voice, where we talked about doing like a brand voice, colors, logo, how that looks across all platforms. That's advertising, marketing companies are doing that. If you're talking about like running the day-to-day social, the engagement and all that.
You can also, for that, there's two different asks, but yes, you can go with a big agency depending on the size of your brand and your budget. There's also great freelancers who, can run your Instagram. Like we said, if you're a business owner who just can't can't take that on your plate. But yes, I think it's finding the right people. And if you're looking for something specific in terms of a referral, we're happy to provide some recommendations after the fact if you want to drop your email. But yes, definitely.
They're also asking, what they meant to say was whether we need to be creative with the name.
Yeah, I saw that. And even Gregory had a good question too. I'm gonna get to that. So Gregory asked, for example, does the logo have to be cursive? You know, the logo could be just a symbol. You definitely want to represent your business. I think as long as it looks good in a small size, it's a circle. Again, Nike just use their swoosh. You don't have to spell out the word Nike.
Right.
You know, some company names. I'm working with a company now. It's 3 long words. It just doesn't fit. So I made a symbol for them, right? And you can be creative too. If you ever want to get inspiration, look at your iPhone. Just open your iPhone and look at or your Android and look at all those apps. All those apps on every screen is an icon, and the name's right below it, right? So think the same way.
In terms of, to answer the question about whether the name needs to be creative, I don't think it needs to be creative. I think it's more important the content that you're putting out. And it also depends on what business you're running, right? If you want to be just to the point and you're doing landscaping, I think it's more important that landscaping is in the name of your business than something cheeky and cool. So it really just depends. And I think more important than that is making sure it's authentic to you and what your business offers.
Yeah, another question, how do you find social media influencers? I think depending on the type of business that you are, I think you find people that are into that type of business or that are fans of that kind of content. And you can just reach out to them, be like, hey, I love your work. I love your content. I love what you're producing. Can we work together, you know? And
taking a step back from that, I think it might be helpful to explain to them, how do you find these people in the first place? So to us, it's second nature. We live in this blogosphere and we know who's out there, but maybe to a new business owner who doesn't spend a lot of time on social, they might not even know where to start.
Right.
So I look at it as there's 2 approaches. If you are a bigger brand, maybe you want to invest a little bit of money, there are platforms that can help you search. I mean, there's Meltwater, there's Clear, Cision, that all are basically databases. You can type in looking for food bloggers based in Miami with these number of followers. If that's just too elevated, you're not there yet, simple Google search, food bloggers in Miami, lifestyle bloggers in New York, and then really playing around on Instagram, looking at certain hashtags and seeing who pops up. There's very scrappy ways to do it, and there's more sophisticated ways to do it depending on your resources.
Another question, I'm a starting Instagram food blogger, but struggling with growth in followers and interactions, how to grow into a business itself, partnerships, all that stuff. I think until you get, God, at least how many thousands of followers would you say where you could, like,
10.
first of all, yeah, like
10.
like 10,000 followers, probably the number where you're kind of an established person, where you kind of get that kind of like respect, you can charge a brand money for work.
And that doesn't mean that you can't get opportunities at 5,000 and 7,000. You definitely can. People are very into these smaller, more niche bloggers. But I think until you hit that milestone, you should just be focusing on getting the best content, offering your content services for free to create relationships with business owners, with PR firms, making sure they know you're here and that you're willing to work with them. And then it will sort of shift once you've established that, and you'll be in a better position to talk dollars.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And that's, again, that just takes time. It doesn't cost money to be like, hey, let's say I'm a food blogger. What are the Miami food restaurant PR companies? I want to reach out to somebody like, hey, I'm new in the scene, but I love food. I have a passion for it. If there's any events that you guys would love to have me, I'd love to participate.
Right.
And start getting to know the industry and everyone who's working in that bubble.
And even beyond waiting for invites to fall in your lap, which they will, and they will long before the 10,000 if you're doing things right, it's never taking that blogger mindset and hat off. So you're running out to grab a cup of coffee and you're just rushing to a meeting or whatever's next. Take a picture of it. Tag the business owner. It's those little things day in and day out that show people that you're on the map.
Right. Yes, 100%. Gregory, yes, your logo, there's too many words, shrink it. We talked about it, abbreviate that. Use an icon, use your feather. Lauren had another question. I think we're done with questions after this one, which is, you believe influencer marketing makes a social media page more successful?
100%. Yes.
Facts. Yeah.
And we'll get into that a little bit later with some specifics on how to work with influencers, best practices, but the short answer is yes.
Real quick, wanted to talk some quick tips and tricks, kind of a little intermission here, only because a lot of people ask me, obviously we're in these visual platforms, we want to show photography, we want to show content. And even though we talk about video is way more difficult to explain right now, but a lot of stuff applies to video as well. So number one, always use the rear camera on your phone. This camera is always better than the one in the front. I don't care if you're on Android or iPhone, it's just statistics and the technology behind it. So you always want to wipe your camera with even your t-shirt, and always try to use this camera, not use the one in the front. That's 101, very basic. All these apps, the Photos apps, all these apps have a grid option. And what a grid allows you to do is take creative photos. As the example you see there is, a lot of times the grid as photographers makes us point, like use those corners, those intersections of lines as the focus point. And this is kind of one of those things that make your photos look really, really professional. Upside down view, what I'm talking about that is, sometimes I was at a bar yesterday and took this picture. People were like, oh my God, what a beautiful picture. How'd you take that? I just turn my phone upside down. That's it. It's just changing your perspective. By turning my phone upside down, the angle of the lens is now at the bottom, not on top. And you just get a different look and feel. It's a different perspective of the world. And in this case, I was at a bar and a brand new bar on Biscayne. And it's just, again, it's just switching it up, right? A differentiation from other people. Be conscious of shadows, exactly what it sounds like. A lot of people are taking photos and they're not looking at what objects near it are causing shadows, or is it the light above you that's causing a shadow? Or you just have to tilt your body in a certain way so you're not blocking or adding shadow, or you want to block the shadow, so you tilt your body, your back towards the sun or the light, so you're actually not causing shadows. Again, little things like that really step up your photography game. Zoom versus portrait mode. A lot of people, here's a photo I just took right here of a wine bottle. And a lot of times when you do portrait mode, it kind of does this thing where it blurs the edges a little bit, and it has that certain look, where a lot of times I think a better look is to just step back and zoom in, and you get that same kind of effect. It's called bokeh, where the background is blurred. So the algorithm in the photos for portrait mode can actually like blur edges or make like straws disappear and do like weird things to your photos, as opposed to you like stepping back and like zooming in for your phone and kind of get that same bokeh effect, that's what we call it. Or a lot of times you could actually edit your photo, and when you edit the photo in the new iPhones and Androids, you could actually control that blur in the background, so you're seeing there. So you can actually control and scroll down in that background and kind of like try to have that fake algorithm work like a real camera would. Focus lock is a very simple technique. It's just holding your finger on the screen on whatever you want to be focused on. And you can actually do that, and the camera will lock the focus there. So then maybe you could move around a little bit and shift and get that different, we're talking about lines and grids and kind of get that those interesting angles. You could actually lock the focus on your subject by holding your finger over it on your screen, and you'll see your phone go click, click. It does like a double thing. And now that perspective is locked. So you can actually now move your camera around and actually see if there's something better that you like. Maybe you want to bring some other elements in or out. But it's a really nice trick. Also, the minute you're done with that lockup, you could actually now swipe up and down on your phone and actually either increase the brightness or make it darker after you do that lock. Something you can't do on your phone when you're taking photos unless you lock that in. So you lock it in, and if it's too dark, you swipe up and brighten it, or swipe down. And again, play with this stuff. I'm trying to give you one-on-one. We have an hour with you, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I want to give you some little quick tips and tricks. Live pictures are great. You can always turn on live photos in your camera. And what live photos does, it takes a bunch of pictures in there, which you might not realize that, but when you post on Instagram or TikTok, not only can these pictures be still, but you can actually like hold your finger on it and animate them. So when you do live photos, even though you think it's a still, later on when you have those live photo in your camera roll, you can actually animate them nice and subtle. Or another thing about live photos is there's a lot of images within that image. So this picture is a live photo. I can actually edit this photo, and if I edit it on the top right hand corner, it shows me all those single frames that were in that photo. And what it allows me to do is allows me to maybe say, hey, I hate this picture, But you know what? There might be a picture within this picture. If that makes sense. It's very meta, but you're actually looking at live photos within the photo. So I can scroll within there. That's a live photo, and I can actually hit edit, right? And once you hit edit, these are all those photos within that one photo. So you could switch the key photo. So I changed that photo from me kissing my wife instead of me just looking at her. And that's just from one picture I took. So I took one picture, but because it's a live photo, I have all this like metadata in there, which includes all these GIFs, all these frames of photos. And I think last thing I want to say is my favorite editing app. People ask me all the time. It's free, completely free. It's owned by Google. It's called Snapseed. You could make parts of the image brighter, darker. You could remove scratches, remove things, little pimples, dirt on a table, a lot of things. Snapseed's a completely free app, and that's a little bit of a little tips and tricks on photography.
Love it.
Yeah, let's go back to the pandemic.
Woo, favorite topic. Okay, so I know we have a lot to cover and not a ton of time, so we'll kind of breeze through. Again, feel free to drop your questions. We'll address them later. But in the pandemic, we had to adjust our content in a major way, as did businesses. So, I'm accustomed to having the luxury of going out to restaurants and having a beautifully plated dish that I can take outside in natural light and get a shot and, do some minimal editing and life's easy. That wasn't really the case. I'm doing a ton of delivery. The restaurants are adapting and making these cool delivery boxes. You see here this awesome charcuterie spread for Father's Day that a local business, Very Well Spread, came up with. Really what I wanted to point out in this image is that I turfed my balcony because, getting great images in my 1-bedroom apartment just became a huge challenge. I no longer had this full world of photo opportunities. So maybe my images weren't as picture perfect, but it's okay. And I think that was just the reality of the situation.
And now when you go to Dana's feed, you'll see a lot of green backgrounds, and it's beautiful.
Exactly.
Similar thing, I like to take beautiful pictures of food and really nice high-end photography and take my time and everything. I switched during the whole pandemic to support local business, and my feed became just, I don't care, shitty iPhone pictures, right? Like it's just takeout. I'm gonna take out world. I'm gonna just take out from all these vendors, support as many as I can. And like my feed I have bags of Ziploc. I would never have done that before the day, before a pandemic. But again, just to show like even how we switched kind of mentalities, we had to do things to like adjust to like, what do we do now, right?
And it's also a bigger statement to say, all right, maybe this picture won't break the internet. Maybe no one cares to like my Ziploc bag, but I know that it speaks volumes and makes a bigger statement of what I'm doing to support these local businesses that are struggling. So kudos to you.
Absolutely. So challenges and positive opportunities, right? Like all these chefs lost their jobs. Like they lost their jobs, or they were unemployed, or they were furloughed, and they started hustling. Banh Mi is one example. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but an amazing chef, an amazing restaurant, Benjamin, and he started doing banh mi from his house, and now he's got a brick and mortar on South Beach. So he just completely changed roles and jobs and career paths from working for a big hotel group to being himself.
And another one that comes to mind is a big time pastry chef, the Fountain Blue, just started making these incredible bars that he's delivering to people's homes. So it was this humbling experience that we saw both from the blogger perspective, the business owner, restaurant owner perspective, bartenders and the like. But I think we can both agree that seeing the resourcefulness of everyone across the board was so cool and rewarding, and we saw creativity left and right, and we'll get into some of those examples.
Yeah, even how business adapted, even nowadays, again, they're adapting now. Is like lack of staff is kind of a tough thing right now. So almost every restaurant out there, from the small mom and pops to the hotel ones, are doing bonus referral fees, which some of it all is done. So now they got to do like 3 months in, 6 months in, you get another bonus, or a buddy system bonus, where like if we get hired together, and it's like if Dana and Gio work for 6 months and we both get a bonus, it's almost like this mentality of like, hey, you're not leaving because I'm not leaving, because we both want money, right? Yeah. And that's kind of like this weird pandemic post model that we're seeing now in restaurants, right?
That came from a need.
Yeah, 100%. Some success stories.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. These are just a few. I mean, Lee Schrager of the South Beach Wine and Food Festival created this pop-up bake sale in his front yard at his home, and people came out. The lines of these cars were down the block, around the corner. It didn't even matter what they were charging for a cookie, for a donut, but the community was, thirsty to A, support local, and B, have some sort of interaction, even if it was me in a car and you on the street. So every weekend it was, it gave the opportunity to spotlight these local businesses and help put money in their pockets in a major way.
Yeah, it started with a one-time only thing. It was like a one weekend. It was a bake sale. It was only like night out cookies, which is that photo you see there. And again, here's a bunch of us that went to support. Everyone there's a blogger, except Andrew, the owner on the end. But we all went to support because we care about our industry, and it became now every Sunday we would do this, and it was different vendors, local businesses, supporting them on lines. I'm telling you, 10, 20 blocks, cops had to come and like direct traffic, and it became an awesome thing to do on Sundays.
And I think it's such a cool takeaway that sometimes the simplest ideas are the best. You don't have to come up with the new next big thing. It was a bake sale. That is tried and true, back to our roots, but people love nostalgia. And during this time, they just wanted an excuse to get together and help out. So it's amazing.
And Mia just mentioned that real quick. I already mentioned that, just kind of like, hotel chef turned entrepreneur with his own like brick and mortar, industry WhatsApp group. Basically, the whole Miami restaurant industry all got together in a WhatsApp group, and they just supported, helped each other. Hey, I need this. I need a vendor. I need a lawyer for this. How do I apply for this grant? What do I do about this loan? It was the most amazing thing of hundreds of restaurant owners were in a WhatsApp group, just kind of like patting each other's back, looking out after each other, sharing resources. And it was one of those things that like just the industry really, really got their stuff together using a social media tool, WhatsApp.
So then just to kind of wrap this slide, Old Greg's is another social media sensation that we all saw. If you haven't heard of it, this is, Jackie and her boyfriend Greg were slinging pizzas out of their home. They were literally sliding them through the gate, and there became these crazy wait lists. There was raffles to get the pizza. Anyone would do anything to get their hands on this pizza. And originally they were supposed to have a brick and mortar. And because of the pandemic, this is what happened. And I think, yes, they have an amazing product and they're awesome at marketing, but this turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it created this hype that wouldn't have been the same in a non-pandemic world. And they're on the verge of opening up their brick and mortar, and the hype is already there. It is built in, it is real. So we saw it all.
Yep. They start selling merchandise to like survive. So that picture there, that's kind of like their logo, that yellow shirt polo with it's kind of like a twisted pizza dough. It's incredible. And let's talk about like now it's post pandemic. It's a future.
Finally, here we go.
We're in the future. Hello.
So we wanted to leave you with a couple of concrete ways that you can incorporate some of these tactics, ways to be successful now that the world is really opening up and we see the light. So a lot of this comes down to ways to work not only with social, but with bloggers, content creators like ourselves. Media dimes. This is how we spend half of our weekdays and our evenings. It's simple. It's what it sounds like. If you are a new restaurant, find out who the bloggers are in town and invite them in. There's no better way to turn them into a fan, a supporter, a loyalist than by having them try their food and making them feel right at home. It is simple. You can literally send them a direct message on Instagram if you don't want to be formal about it. There's no rules. Have them in your place. Invite them in and invite them back.
Yeah, and a lot of us have our email addresses right on our bio. So
yep.
You could, BCC 20 of your favorite people, be like, hey, I love your content. I'm opening this restaurant. Here's kind of the menu. It's something really unique in Miami. Obviously like tease it out. That's where kind of like PR comes in. Like, what makes it cool? What's a twist there? Is it a main chef? Is it a beautiful design spot? Is it just a cool dive bar, right? Whatever it is, tell it to us. And you invite people. And that's kind of the media dime, which leads into a press trip, which is the same thing, but on a larger scale, multiple days at a destination. Sometimes hotels are involved, also obviously bars and restaurants, but activities, because I know a lot of people work in that world as well.
So, and this is something we've done together, for example, in Key West. One of our favorite hotels is the Perry Hotel. And what this press trip entails is they'll take care of us and set us up with a stay at the hotel, but they really build it around experiences. They want you to understand the amazing water sports. They want you to try the local coffee shop. They want to give you, breakfast in bed, so that at the end of the day, what you're seeing in terms of content and coverage is so much more robust than just a one-off. Hey, I came in, I took a picture of the pizza, I leave. You're creating relationships. And now when we go back to the Keys, we're continuing to support our local spots.
Right. And it's one of those things where the long tail effect of that relationship is wonders. I suggest everyone to go there now. I'm in love with the property, in love with the people, with the food. I can tell you all about it. Like we become, we're gonna talk about ambassadors.
It's a perfect segue.
Perfect segue, but yeah, working with brands and creators. Yeah, we kind of just talked about that a little bit already.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add there is understand that it's a mutual conversation and mutual benefit. So for us, we know how to create content. We would love your guidance. We would love to know what you're proudest of at your business, whether that's a dish or a room that you have to see or an activity, but also have trust in the fact that these creators know what works for their audience and just have open communication about it. So that's going to produce the best results for both parties.
Absolutely. It's like a simple thing like, hey, like I'm working out with Bulletproof coffee. Everyone knows about Bulletproof. So they have all these really cool products and they're like, we love how you're so fun with cocktails. I love cocktails, I love to drink. And they're like, can you come up with keto healthy cocktails using our products? I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like such a fun challenge to me. So send me a bunch of product. I did an espresso martini with their, little cold brew capsule, like Nespresso capsules. Their cold brew coffee that has no sugar. And I did a really delicious espresso martini and they loved it. So now, like every quarter, I got to come up with a recipe. So my next one will be a keto mojito.
Love it.
You can help me with a pun.
Got
It's
you.
already got the pun already.
Mojito.
Mojito, duh.
Duh.
It's so good. I'll Venmo you later. And influencers versus ambassadors. Let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
We kind of like a little bit. What's the difference for you?
So I think there's a huge difference. I think influencer is kind of step one, right? You can work with someone on a one-off. You can invite them into your establishment. You can have them promote it. But what we're trying to shift the conversation and have, we consider ourselves ambassadors for a lot of brands, local, national, what have you. It just means that we are an extension of your family. Our interest in supporting your business goes beyond the one-off posts that we're doing on our Instagram. There's a couple ways that happens. Let's say, you're a restaurant that just wants to give certain ambassadors a credit to come eat every single month. There's no specific expectations, but it's an unspoken that we're going to come in and continue to show you love. Another one, it's a brand, maybe it's a liquor brand that pays you a monthly retainer. And therefore people know, everyone knows when they look at Gio and they talk to Gio, he represents Havana Club Round. He is a true ambassador for the brand. He's ordering it at the bar. He's talking about it when he's not on the clock because we're always on the clock in a sense. And the brands that we love, the brands we talk about, a good example for me is Sweetgreen. I think everyone knows I live and die for Sweetgreen, is that we're excited to talk about it. It doesn't feel like work. And for the brands, those are the people that you want on your side who are passionate and genuinely, it's on brand for them to be working with you.
Right. And I think that's a key differentiator because a lot of times, especially with people think ambassadors are like affiliates.
Right.
But affiliates is a different term. I think we both could agree on that. But an affiliate is someone who's trying to make money selling products. I hate that. I know you don't like that. I'm not here slinging, Joey water bottle every day. I drink this every day, but I'm not like trying to make money. I'm not trying to make money by having you buy this.
This is not a product placement.
Right. It's not a product placement. And I think that's the affiliate world. The affiliate world where you have a link, any sales of that link, you get some kickback from. That's an affiliate. An ambassador is really that long-term influencer that knows your brand inside and out, can speak on behalf of your brand, that lives your brand.
And it doesn't even necessarily have to be paid. Like if you're a small business owner who's listening and thinking, well, I can never afford an ongoing partnership, that's okay. Gio and I both absolutely love, and I would call us ambassadors of Topo Chico. And the way it works is we became friends with the marketing manager and she drops off product every now and then. And we
love it.
We love it. We tell everyone, we introduce her when we're hosting events. And that to me is like the perfect marriage of we love it. We help you, you help us. And it's a natural synergy.
Right. So we love the brand of product. Yeah, honestly. Couple questions I see, but let me almost wrap it up. Q&A, perfect. So last 2 weeks, say Snapseed is terrible now and they're crashing for some people. These are reviews that Yvette is seeing on the store, in the app store. I use Lightroom as well. Lightroom is a great alternative to Snapseed. And again, it depends what you use with Snapseed. Snapseed has a lot of features. I used it yesterday. It doesn't crash on me. I'm not sure.
Delete it, re-download it.
Yeah, a lot of times I delete it, re-download it, but it's great. You mentioned earlier some place to find social media influencers or ambassadors. Would you repeat them?
Yes. So one is called Melt Water, another is called Clear, Klear, and then another is called Cision, Cision. But I think, those are all paid, which is great if you want to invest in them. They definitely do the job. But I think kind of just rolling up your sleeves and doing a lot of research online can also get you what you're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. Chat, let me see what else we have. How to estimate the fee for an influencer? That's a great question.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, it's funny. They all charge per amount of followers they have. At the end of the day, it's, think of a micro celebrity, which is nothing new. People are paying the Kardashians. My world of advertising. I paid Kardashian when I worked at City Furniture to be in her show for like 2 episodes, and that was part of the deal. Think the same way, but micro. So if she has 100,000 followers and I have 10,000 followers, we're going to charge you differently. If there's a rate, it gets more complicated when you think about a rate and a finite number, because it could be leave this on for a month or don't post another competitor for a month. There's an add-on to that. If you're adding stories, like, hey, I want to post for 3 and 4 stories, or vice versa, there's an add-on to that. If they're swiping up to links or the call to action, there could be an add-on to that.
Yeah.
And it could be also nothing, depending the person, the individual. If they're set up as like a business, they're gonna think of all these things, because all of them is time and all of them bring value. So, but yeah, a young person might be like, I'll do this for $200. They have 10,000 followers, and like, good for them,
Yeah, I think unfortunately it's just the wild, wild west, and you have to spend some time having conversations with each person, and also understand there's always, always, always room to negotiate. So if they come at you with a crazy number, you say, this is all we have, try it out. And then if it's too crazy for you, there's gonna be someone else who charges less. So it's a bit of an experiment, if you will.
Yeah. So I hope Ida answered your question. Jennifer, Instagram or Facebook would be better for paid content. I think Instagram, I buy stuff on Instagram all the time. I never buy anything on Facebook. I think Instagram's algorithm for shopping is better, even though it's all powered through Facebook, the same company. I would, if you want to invest money, I would invest money in Instagram as a sponsored post with a call to action straight to your shopping page. And yeah, put $100 behind it and see what your return on that is. I think that's easy peasy.
Yeah, you don't need huge budgets to advertise on these platforms. They actually make it pretty approachable. The only thing I'd say, and I don't really play in the Facebook space, especially not with ads, but depending on your demographic, Facebook might be better if you're talking to, older groups who aren't necessarily on Instagram. It's something to consider.
Elizabeth asked, thank you, Lynn. We're very fun and informative. Elizabeth wants to know, how do you measure ROI for an influencer? That is again, back to marketing 101. There's not, listen, the one answer could be like, oh, they brought me X amount of sales, but it's not always like that. Look at a billboard, like how many, what do you can't track a billboard, right? So like, unfortunately, the world of advertising, marketing, some of those things become a little bit vague, but there's nothing wrong with it. You have to go in thinking like that. You have to go in thinking that is a billboard. That post might not have a direct purchase now, but it might, a week or two when that person is craving that chocolate chip cookie, right?
Yeah, a lot of it is about brand awareness. And I know that that's difficult for some business owners to understand, or to say, well, I spent this amount and I didn't see this amount back in my pocket. It is a longer play, and you don't always have the metrics that you want.
Yeah, 100%. You kind of just got, listen, do you think Pepsi needs to advertise? Right? But they do, because if they don't, they're gonna take Coke's share. That's like, marketing 101, like study book material. So it's we're part of this cultural conscious of buyers. We're all consumers at the end of the day. Everything we're consuming every day. So being part of that wiring is advertising, marketing. It's just a reality of it. It's whether it's for PR, right?
Yeah.
Like PR, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's all interconnected. And I think social media plays a big role in all of it. And it's important to put your eggs in different baskets and make sure you're doing a mix of all these tactics.
Yep, like Elizabeth said, strategic communication 101. Guys, it is, want to be respectful. It's 2 o'clock. No more questions. I don't know. This is us. Hey, it's us. Hey, look at us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coke, for sponsoring us. That'll be $10,000.
There's of the brand.
Amazing. That was phenomenal. Okay, guys, there's one more poll that popped up. So if you guys could fill that out. But can we please thank our speakers in the chat section? Can we give it up for them? Cyberly, please. That was amazing. Yay. Please note, you have turned my camera into something else. My little iPhone has new meaning.
Oh, there you go.
That was phenomenal. Thank you guys so much. And as you can see in the chat section, everybody agrees with me. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for participating today. I believe SBDC provided you with a few links for free consulting sessions. We are also launching online platforms. And so Startup FIU has provided some links as well. But this was phenomenal. Gio, Dana, we're gonna ask you back. We're gonna need you to come back.
Sorry, we're
two
seeing
more
some questions. We can either address them now, or you guys can slide it into our DMs if you don't know what that means. Send us a direct message on Instagram. Chat City in Miami Food Porn.
Real quick, any great book recommendations? Unfortunately, this world is evolving so much that by the time that book is printed, it is obsolete. I believe that. I can link you. I'll send you blogs. So send me on Instagram. Slide it to our DMs, and we'll send you stuff.
Can you guys stick your Instagrams in the chat? Because I think everybody needs to be following you if they're not following you.
Yeah, here.
Absolutely. And then we're gonna also yeah, we're gonna get with SBDC to make sure that they can find you. This was such a phenomenal session. Thank you both so much. We definitely need to have you back. I really do miss being able to connect with people. I'm so glad you are both on your couches. I think we all can appreciate that. So hopefully we'll be able to do this with both of you again. We don't want to keep the audience, but thank you all so much for joining us. And we will find a way to get Gio and Dana back, hopefully in person.
Yes.
Bring it.
Yes. All right. Bye, guys.